I want to talk about one of my friends for a second. He was in a business in a local shop right where he lives in I'm not going to say whereabouts in Cavan. But basically, the businesses, and this and to do with restaurants, businesses, pubs, things like that, they take advantage of young people, particularly people under 18. Because particularly, basically, they don't have to pay them really, in other words. That's the word that many businesses use. And it's not right, having young people you're working in the business and paying them little or nothing. Like this person, for example, was getting free something now, not even the minimum wage. But that miserable, they wouldn't give them the minimum wage. This business. But again, you say cabin people wouldn't give them anything in it. But you know what I'm saying. Again, he's being very free something for an hour, and he's working a good few hours a day, and he's getting free something. He's barely getting he's probably barely making €12 or something like that. Maybe could be maybe €14, €15 most. And you'd be like, what's the point? At the end of the day, you're better off sitting on the dole than working for that amount of money for a day, getting paid free something. Businesses do this, and this is the general thing too, and I always have said this. If a young person or anybody that does work, by right they should get paid. It's only fair. If you do something, it doesn't matter what you do. You do even one or two things. There's something to get something out of it. There's something to get a few bob or something. And particularly if you're in the business of pub or restaurant, he was in a shop, a grocery shop, and he was stacking shelves and things. But it's not hard. It is hard work. It's not easy work. Stacking a shelf. It's not easy. Bringing stuff out and having to stack the shelves. It's not easy work, and I'm sure you would agree with me. It's not easy, and particularly because these businesses, particularly this business he was in, they're doing well. It's not like a local shop. They make a lot of business. They make a lot of income. It'd be different if it was a local man down the road. Only a few customers go into him. This shop is really on the main road. Loads of people stop off, and they get loads of business again. And that's the point I raised with the owner, because I had words with the owner. And I said if he didn't pay the young lad a fair price for his work, because again he works a few hours a week, I would say give him the minimum wage, give him 10 something an hour, give him that, give him something at least, give him something, like my God, give him something. Apart from free something, like come on now, I don't know who he was trying to fool. But yeah, I spoke up for the young lad, and again the parents were very tight for it because the parents are afraid. And this is the thing too, and I've come across it many times before. Parents are afraid to speak to the owners who entered that because they're afraid that he could lose his job and not get another job, because it is hard out there for young people to get another job and to find work. Particularly unless you're going to college and things like that. And he's going to college, he's only working on the weekends, and he's working sometimes in the evenings. And it's not fair. It's not fair. And again, as I said to the owner, I don't know who he's trying to cod. But yeah, I think it was very fierce with him, and I think he got a bite. Because I threatened I'd go along with 6 or 7 people and we'll protest outside of him and we make sure he won't get any business. So we made that quite clear, because I won't tolerate people taking advantage of young people, because that's what it is, taking advantage. Same as gangs and things, they're taking advantage of young people. And we have to see this because our young people are the future, and we have to take care of our young people because they deserve the pay the same as anybody else. They deserve at least the minimum wage at anything. And again, the minimum wage is not much, and we have to be honest with ourselves. It's not much. It's not really fair at the end of the day. I'd say that straight. Especially businesses that do it very, very well, particularly this business. We see people in Dunnes Stores, Tesco's getting paid little or nothing. It's not fair. And again, work experience too. Many people, when I was at work experience, they got something. I got no money from the work experience. I was a work experience. I used to pay for a taxi up. I paid nearly €400 for a taxi to go and work experience. But I never looked for any money, and I wouldn't have probably took it at the end of the day. Probably if they give me money, I wouldn't have took it. But I was different. I was working for the public service compared to these private businesses. I was the only person working for the public service in civil service. I was the only person working for it. Not technically, I was only doing once a week back 2 years ago now. Many of them were working in the private service of these businesses, shops, pubs, etc., restaurants. And they got something out of it, and I was happy to see that. But the year before that, I do remember a young person didn't get paid at all, and he was working in the restaurant somewhere. I think it was near the Mead border or somewhere like that, Virginia, some part, I don't know, somewhere down way the back down the other side of Cavan. And that wasn't fair. Let's be honest, it wasn't fair. His mother had to drive down from Cavan every morning, from Cavan town down to Virginia. It wasn't fair, and you think they would have trimmed a few bob. Again, the miserable cuts, and they'd be told, let's just put it straight there. Now, forgive me for my language, that's the words. Miserable cuts, whoever doesn't pay young people for doing a bit of work. Again, giving them a few bob, it's not going to break the bank. Let's be honest here. And again, I say this to people, I say this to parents too, because don't make businesses, particularly business owners and big businesses, it's okay if it's a man down the road and he's has a small business, you know, don't be putting pressure on him to pay. Obviously, he couldn't afford to pay. But it's the big companies that I'm annoyed about. Places that do loads of businesses. They're the ones that are big scummy bastards, and that's the word I use. Because you know the local man down the road, take for example, would pay you and would be a decent fella and would give you money and would probably even bring you home and everything. That he'd be that type of person. The local people, the local man that's a decent man and he work very hard and he'd give you what you deserve. But these assholes in big businesses, they treat young people like they don't exist and that they just pay them like the scum of the earth. And that's really what they do. But I'm happy to help in this case with this young lad. Hopefully that he said he will continue working now because there's no other option at the moment of working anywhere else. But he's getting 10 something now with a minimum wage. At least it's a fair. Let's be honest, it's not that fair, but it's better than 3 something like my fuck. And especially when he has to go to college and things like that, you know, it's not easy. It's not easy going to college, you know, 5 days a week, then having to work on the weekend, sometimes even in the evenings. It's not easy. I'm sure we would agree. It's not easy work, and that's very hard. I admire them people that work hard and trying to get themselves through college and trying to pay themselves through college. You know, you have to admire these people, because I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I tell you straight, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't sit in the college for 5. I done it for too long as actually in national school, and I learned nothing out of it. But anyway. But you know, you get what I'm saying. But fair play to this young lad, and I wish him the best of luck. And hopefully he learned his lesson as an employer. And if I have to go back to him, you know, I have serious words with him then. Again, I just say to people, if you see this happening in your town, in your village, have a word with the manager. Send a letter maybe to the manager. If it's done, still send a letter to the High Office in Dublin or whatever. And just say it's not right. It is not right that young people don't get paid for work experience. And for and just taking advantage in the workplace. But anyway, take care everybody and be safe out there and bye.